Your brother is having a baby, so he is moving into your house tomorrow morning. Clear out anything you want to keep, sweetheart, because they need the space. Those were the exact words my mother sent to me on a quiet Wednesday afternoon. I sat completely frozen in the driver's seat of my car, staring through the windshield at the massive rented moving truck parked aggressively across my pristine driveway. My brother, Derek, was currently dragging my favorite antique reading chair out of my front door, his face red with exertion, while my mother stood on the lawn, pointing and directing him like a queen surveying her conquered empire. My brother's pregnant wife sat comfortably in the passenger seat of their vehicle, mindlessly scrolling on her cellular phone. They were completely taking over. I did not panic. Instead, I sat perfectly still behind the steering wheel, my blood turning to absolute ice, clutching a manila folder filled with documents that were about to turn my mother's golden empire into a pile of sheer dust. Thank you for watching this video. Before I take you back there, do me one small favor. Take a second to like and subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you are watching from and what time it is where you are. It helps more than you know. My name is Valerie, and I am 34 years old. In my family, I have never been a daughter. I have only ever been an insurance policy, a convenient backup plan, a designated safety net for a family that viewed my independence as a direct insult to their existence. For as long as I can remember, my older brother Derek was the undisputed king of our household. He is 31 years old now, but he has never held a steady job for longer than 6 months in his entire adult life. He is a man who builds castles in the sky and expects everyone else to pay the mortgage. Whether it was a failed luxury dog breeding business, a disastrous cryptocurrency scheme, or an energy drink pyramid operation, my parents, Loretta and Gerald, always funded his delusions. They called him a misunderstood visionary. They called him an entrepreneur. They called me the boring, selfish sister because I refused to hand over my paycheck to fund his absolute foolishness. When I was 19 years old, my father offered me a small sum of family money to buy a starter home, on the condition that he would co-sign and retain control over the property. I politely declined. I knew exactly what that meant. It meant a leash. It meant a collar. I wanted absolute freedom. Instead, I worked 3 jobs while attending university. I saved every single penny. 15 years ago, I bought a modest, run-down house in a quiet suburb of North Carolina for $210,000. I paid the down payment entirely with my own savings. I spent a decade and a half painting walls, repairing floors, upgrading the plumbing, and paying down the principal balance every single month. Today, that beautiful colonial house with the wraparound porch and the ancient oak trees is worth exactly $950,000. It is my sanctuary. It is my fortress. Professionally, I work as a senior risk analyst for a major regional bank. My entire career is built on identifying threats. I study behavioral anomalies. I track deeply rooted patterns of deception. I build intricate, invisible traps for financial predators, catching them before they can drain the accounts of innocent people. Little did they know, I was about to use those exact professional skills to completely dismantle my own flesh and blood. The nightmare truly began on a Wednesday. I was sitting at my desk analyzing a corporate risk profile when my cellular phone vibrated. I looked down and saw the text message from my mother, Loretta. She told me that Derek and his wife Brenda were expecting a baby. She told me they were moving into my house the very next day. She commanded me to clear out my belongings. The sheer audacity of her demand hung in the heavy afternoon air, suffocating every ounce of misplaced loyalty I had ever carried for the woman who gave birth to me. I picked up the telephone and dialed her number. She answered on the second ring, her voice dripping with artificial, sugary sweetness. "Hello, sweetheart. Did you get my message about the big move?" "I received a message stating that someone is moving into my house," I replied. My voice was completely flat. "The house that I have owned for 15 years. Loretta let out a dismissive, breathy laugh. The mask was perfectly in place. Oh, Valerie, please do not be difficult. It is the family home. Babies need space. You are just one person rattling around in a 3-bedroom house. Do not be selfish, Valerie. It is my house, Mother. Your father and I discussed it, she stated, her tone shifting from sweet to a blunt, everyday command. Derek needs stability right now. Brenda is pregnant. You can move into Derek's old childhood bedroom here at our house until you find a nice little apartment. Something more appropriate for a single woman. Just leave your front door key under the welcome mat. Your brother is loading the truck right now. I closed my eyes. The facade had completely crumbled. The reality was utterly staggering. They did not view my house as an achievement. They viewed it as an used family inventory. I was not a person to them. I was simply prey, waiting to be consumed by the apex predator of our family. I am not moving out of my house, I said. Do not test me, Valerie, Loretta snapped, the sugary tone completely vanishing. Family takes care of family. You will do as you are told. She hung up the telephone. I did not cry. My veins flooded with an icy, profound calm. The emotional daughter died in that exact moment, and the senior risk analyst took complete control. I opened my secure work computer. I bypassed the standard files and went straight to the county property database. I downloaded the official, undeniable proof of my sole ownership. I then opened my legal templates. Over the years, I have worked closely with our bank attorneys to draft documents regarding property rights and unlawful entry. I took a formal cease and desist template, filled in my home address, and printed it on heavy, watermarked paper. Then, I picked up my telephone again. I bypassed the emergency dispatcher and dialed the direct line for the regional sheriff department. I asked for a civil standby, reporting a deliberate, hostile takeover of private property. They thought I was a compliant, obedient victim. Little did they know, they were walking blindly into a steel snare. Which brings me back to the driveway. I watched Derek struggle with my antique chair. I watched my mother point toward my prized rose bushes, likely planning to tear them up to make room for children's toys. I lifted my cellular phone and recorded 3 minutes of high-definition video. I captured Derek crossing my property line. I captured him placing my personal property into his massive rented moving truck. I waited. The trap was set. Now it was time to spring it. The heavy crunch of thick tires on gravel broke the afternoon silence. A large, black sports utility vehicle with flashing blue lights pulled up directly behind my car, effectively blocking the moving truck from leaving. Sheriff Vance stepped out of the vehicle. He is a tall, imposing man with graying hair and an absolute intolerance for nonsense. The shift in the atmosphere was instantaneous. The vocabulary of the afternoon abruptly changed from a family dispute to a matter of state jurisdiction. Loretta noticed the flashing lights. Her mask slipped back on with terrifying speed. She smoothed her skirt and marched confidently toward Sheriff Vance, flashing a brilliant, neighborly smile. "Oh, officer," Loretta said loudly. "There is no need for alarm. This is simply a family matter. My son is just moving into his new home." Sheriff Vance did not smile. He looked at the massive truck, then looked at Derek, who had suddenly frozen in place, utterly drained of color. I opened my car door and stepped out onto the pavement. I walked calmly toward the sheriff, holding my manila folder. "No, officer," I said clearly. My voice was a block of solid ice. "I own this property solely. I have not given anyone permission to enter my home, occupy my space, or remove my personal belongings. I would like to formally file a criminal trespassing complaint, and I want them removed from my premises immediately." Loretta gasped. Her face completely shattered, contorting into a mask of pure, absolute horror. "Valerie, what on earth are you doing?" "I am protecting my assets," I replied, not looking at her. I handed the folder to Sheriff Vance. The legal documents were the ultimate hidden characters in this profound tragedy. I handed him the recorded deed. I handed him the property tax records, fully paid in my name. I handed him my government identification. I handed him the formal cease and desist declaration. Sheriff Vance reviewed the documents methodically. The silence in the driveway was absolutely deafening. He looked up and locked eyes with my brother. "Sir, step away from the furniture. Do you possess any documentation showing legal ownership, a signed lease agreement, or a formal tenant contract for this residential property?" Derek swallowed hard. He looked at our mother, his eyes wide with sheer panic. My mom said. "I do not care what your mother said," Sheriff Vance interrupted, his voice echoing with institutional authority. "I require official documentation of a lawful tenancy." "I do not have anything in writing," Derek mumbled. Sheriff Vance squared his shoulders. "Then you are currently committing criminal trespassing on private property. Furthermore, you are actively removing belongings that do not belong to you, which borders on felony larceny. You have exactly 10 minutes to return every single item to its original place inside that residence, reload your truck with your own belongings, and completely vacate this jurisdiction. If you remain on this property at the end of 10 minutes, I will initiate formal arrests and you will spend the night in the county holding facility." Loretta lunged forward, her composure entirely destroyed. "This is completely insane. Officer, she is his sister. He is having a baby. You cannot do this. Valerie, you are going to throw your own brother out onto the street." I looked my mother dead in the eyes. I felt absolutely nothing. No pity. No remorse. Just cold, pristine clarity. "He is not on the street, Mother," I said softly. "He is trespassing. He can return to his childhood bedroom in your house. After all, family takes care of family." Derek scrambled. I have never seen a grown man move with such profound terror. He practically threw my antique chair back through the front door. He scrambled into the back of his rented truck, throwing his own boxes haphazardly into the metal container. Brenda, his pregnant wife, finally got out of the passenger seat, screaming at Derek, demanding to know why they were being evicted by law enforcement before they had even moved in. They packed the truck in 8 minutes. Before getting into her vehicle, Loretta turned to me. Her eyes were filled with venom. "Your father will hear about this. You have completely destroyed this family. You will die alone, Valerie." "I would rather die alone than live as your absolute servant," I replied. They drove away. Sheriff Vance stayed until I had a professional locksmith arrive to change every single deadbolt on the exterior doors. That evening, the retaliation began. My father, Gerald, called my telephone at exactly 9 o'clock. "You are an absolute disgrace." Gerald roared through the speaker, his authoritarian voice vibrating with staggering rage. "Your mother is hyperventilating in the living room. How dare you humiliate us in front of the authorities? Derek just needed a place to stay." "Then you provide it, Father," I answered calmly. "You have a massive house. We are retired. We need our peace and quiet," he screamed. "You have extra bedrooms. You are selfish. Nobody is stealing anything, your mother just thought." My mother thought she could orchestrate a fraudulent eviction and gift my property to her golden child, I interrupted. "The legal system classifies that as a felony. I classify it as the absolute end of our relationship. Do not ever contact me again." I hung up the telephone. By the next morning, my mother had initiated a massive smear campaign. She created a group text message including every single aunt, uncle, and cousin in our extended family. She spun a horrific, fabricated tale about how I had suffered a mental breakdown, how I had viciously thrown a pregnant woman out into the cold, and how I had completely abandoned my Christian values. My telephone vibrated continuously with messages from outraged relatives calling me a monster. They thought I would cower in shame. Little did they know, I always keep my receipts. Aunt Tabitha, my father's older sister and a retired federal court clerk, sent me a private message. She is a woman who values evidence over emotion. She simply asked, "Valerie, what is the actual truth?" I did not argue. I did not write a long, emotional defense. I simply attached the official police incident report filed by Sheriff Vance, the scanned copy of my property deed, and the 3-minute high-definition video showing Derek attempting to steal my furniture while Loretta directed the robbery. Aunt Tabitha read the documents. Then, without warning me, she forwarded the entire file directly into the massive family group text message. She added one single comment: "I suggest you all read the actual law enforcement records before you crucify this young woman." Gerald and Loretta attempted to steal a $950,000 estate. This is absolutely shameful. The group text went completely, utterly silent. Within 1 hour, my parents quietly exited the chat. Over the next few days, half a dozen relatives sent me private, groveling apologies. The golden child's crown had completely fallen, and my mother's flawless, angelic facade was permanently shattered for everyone to see. They thought I was selfish. Little did they know, true selfishness was expecting a daughter to set herself on fire just to keep a worthless son warm. 6 months have passed since that incredible afternoon. Today, I am sitting on my wraparound porch, drinking a cup of premium coffee, completely at peace. Meanwhile, they are drowning in the staggering consequences of their own greed. Derek and Brenda had their baby. They are currently living in a run-down, cramped apartment on the undesirable side of the city. Because Derek refuses to maintain employment, Gerald and Loretta are forced to drain their retirement savings to pay his monthly rent and buy his groceries. Their peaceful retirement is completely ruined, chained forever to the helpless king they created. I did not send a baby gift. I did not send a card. Last month, I made the final, decisive transfer from my bank account. My mortgage is now officially, completely paid off in full. I own a stunning, $1 million estate free and clear. I have surrounded myself with incredible friends, colleagues, and neighbors who respect my boundaries and celebrate my victories. I have built a beautiful life that their manipulation could never touch, and I have obtained a level of absolute serenity that their money could never ever buy. That is my story of how protecting my peace cost me my toxic family, but bought me my absolute freedom. What would you have done in my shoes? Tell me in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this story of justice being served, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more. See you next time.